So hello and yes, welcome back to another video, guys. And that is right, it is my end of the month video where I go over all the films I've watched for the first time in the month just gone. And surprisingly, this was my busiest month. I saw 30 films this month that I'd never seen before. February 2021. 30 films I'd never seen before. And I was also doing rewatches throughout this month as well with I rewatched the monster films with Godzilla, King Kong, Skull Island, and King of the Monsters. Been rewatching the Aliens movies, and some other bits and bobs. So I've actually managed to watch quite a lot this month, sorry, and I watched like half of Better Call Saul. So I've been doing a lot of watching this month. But of course, we are here to talk about the movies I've never seen before. So these here are all first time watches for me. So yeah, 30 films to go over. So I'm going to go pretty quick. Now, I want to say if you're a Gamera fan, Of course, I got both Arrow Gamera box sets that come out. There's 12 films in those sets. I've watched 10 of them. So there's going to be a lot of Gamera here. Starting us off then is Gamera 1965, the giant monster, the original, the first. So this was, coming off the heat and the popularity of Godzilla. And wow, this was really exciting. This might be my favourite of the bunch. It's the only one in black and white. But the costumes and the sets look really good in this one for their time, for their age. I really like the story, actually. And yeah, looking back at it, I don't have a lot to say about this one because Gamera in this movie is just Gamera. It's about how people reacted to his first appearance. There isn't a monster for him to fight in this one. So Gamera, the giant monster, I thought was thoroughly entertaining as a first movie. These films are what they are. They're nothing incredible. They're just fun, innocent movies. These big monster kaiju movies. And I'm going to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. Gamera versus Baragon is next. Now, I apologise if I'm saying this wrong, because I was watching them in subtitles, so I might be mispronouncing them. If I was watching them, the dubbed version, then it might actually be different. I might have been able to get a better understanding of how to pronounce some of these. But Gamera vs. Baragon. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull this box set down just to help me a bit because I can't remember all of these off the top of my head. So Gamera vs. Baragon. Let's have a look because I've watched they've all been in the same month. Okay, so this is the one, the flying one. So this was actually one of the more exciting duo Gamera ones where he's going up against another monster. I found the other monster quite funny, but he's not quite as silly as some of the ones that were to come. I found this movie interesting. It was really exciting for me. This was the first time I was going to see Gamera go up against another monster. And I had a good time with it. It's a silly plot, but compared to some of the ones that we're going to talk about in a bit, it's not that bad. So I'm going to give Gamera versus Baragon a 6. I'll go 6 out of 10. Next up, brand new release from Netflix, The Dig. This is based on a true story, and this is set right before I think it's Second World War. Ralph Fiennes, of course, starring in this one with Lily James. Ralph Fiennes is absolutely incredible. He steals every scene he's in here, and he is truly fantastic. I just found the story in this one a little bit stale at times. I found myself a few times losing interest. That some of the side plots were just not great. But overall, it was a fine time. But it's not one I'd particularly go back too much. I'll give this film 6.5. Next up, we got Gamera versus Gaios. I don't know. Gaios. Yeah, so this one was okay as well. It gets sillier. Each one kind of progressively gets sillier. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about it, to be honest. These Gamera films are all kind of the same, especially since I watched 10 in the space of a month. Standouts to this one, again, the monster I actually found a little bit maybe boring in this one. The Gaiosis, whatever you want to call it. And yeah. Honestly don't have loads to say about it. I'm sorry. I just can't really remember them all. There's, watching them all so close together. I'll give this film a 5 out of 10. Next up, Finishing off, you guys might remember from my last end of the month video, I started watching all of the Muppets films I hadn't seen. So here we are, we're ending on Muppets Most Wanted. I found this film actually quite interesting, how it just picked up straight away from where the last one left off. But these Muppets films, you know, they're fine. I don't have loads to say about them. It had a very interesting cast, this one. It was a bit of a shame they couldn't get Amy Adams back for this one, and I forget the name of the actor who was in the one before. It's a shame they couldn't get the two leads back from the movie that came before. But this one here, we do have Ricky Gervais, who I absolutely love. And once again, he is probably stealing every scene he's in, just because he's the most interesting actor on set. It does kind of diminish the first movie a little bit at times, which I found a bit weird. But yeah, I mean, it's an okay movie. It's fine. I won't go shouting about it. It is what it is. Muppets Most Wanted, I'll give a 6.5 out of 10 to. Next up, we have The Birdcage. Now, The Birdcage, my girlfriend showed me this film. This is a film I probably wouldn't have watched. But this film, of course, is starring Mr. Robin Williams, the late great. He's fantastic in this movie. Again, not 100% sure on the name of the other actor who's in this one with him, but the one who plays his partner, but he's fantastic. This film was really good, actually. It had a really good sense of humour about it. I found some of the scenes really funny. It was a really entertaining movie. I love the concept of it. I found some scenes were a bit drawn out, and they really could have done with some background music. If I remember, there were a lot of scenes where the music wasn't great, and it sort of kept pulling me out at the moment. But other than that, it was really good. It ended a bit abruptly as well. But I actually did have a very good time with this movie, to be fair, and I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, we got two more Gamera films here. Gamera versus Virus. Now, again, let me just pull this out. Let me just have a look, see if I can refresh myself. Okay, so yeah, Virus. I'm just getting confused here with which is which. Virus I found really, really silly. In fact, I found both of these two really silly. I'm not gonna lie. There wasn't much of a monster in this one, and I know that Gamera is meant to be a friend of all children and stuff. But I found some of the things in this one hilarious. The kids. These films now get an obsession with always having two young boys in every movie. They never want to mix it up, put maybe an adult in the scenario, or go like maybe a boy and a girl. It's always just two boys, two young boys. It's really weird how they always do that. And they're doing some really stupid stuff, and they're kind of annoying. I'm going to give Gamera versus Virus a 4.5 out of 10. You know, these films are what they are. They're not great. They are what they are. That's the best I can do for it. Okay, Gamera versus Gurion. Yeah, I think that's, you know, I'm getting them a bit mixed up, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I will just give this film a 4.5 as well. I just remember having exactly the same feelings after I watched it. I was like, yep. The costumes, actually, I'll say this. The costumes for Gamera actually felt like they were getting a bit cheaper and a bit worse here. Other than that, it's the same silly stuff with Gamera versus Gurion, whatever. Okay. Then we've got Malcolm and Mary, the Netflix original movie. Now, I have reviewed this film in detail here on the channel, so I won't go over in too much detail. This is directed by one of the directors from Euphoria, Zendaya's show, which is apparently amazing. Have yet to watch it myself, really need to. Which is why Zendaya was probably casting this. And then, of course, we've got Denzel Washington's son in this movie as well. And I was very curious about seeing him in another movie because I didn't really like him much in Tenet, but I know I liked him from BlacKkKlansman. So I was really excited to see him in this movie. And I had a great time here. I thought everything about this film was brilliant. The cinematography was gorgeous. I love the one set location. Both the actors done a fantastic job. And I've seen a few people complain about the script, and I'll say this about the script. It starts off a bit wobbly and a bit false, but I think it really improves as the movie goes on. I really like Malcolm and Mary. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Then we've got, this is the last one for a while. Gamera versus Giga. This is the last one for a while on Gamera. Gamera versus Giga. Okay. So yeah, again, I really don't remember much about this one. I think this is the last one before I really started to dislike, because this is from the Showa era, and I really don't like the last too much, which we will get to. But this one here was sort of the last one where I sort of found myself laughing my way through it, where it's funny. It was like, yeah, this is kind of stupid. I remember the kids being particularly bad again in this one. It was like, what are you doing? This is just, you're just being stupid, like really stupid. What are you doing? And again, the costume almost felt like it was getting worse again on Gamera. Didn't look fantastic. Some of the effects were laughable. The story, of course, is at this point, it just continues to get sillier. But, you know, it is what it is. Gamera versus Jiga, I'll give a 4 out of 10 to. Then, we've got a couple classics here. Yes, I'd never watched this film before until now. Apocalypse Now. You know, this film was really hyped up for me. Like, it's one of the greatest movies ever. So I was really excited to watch it. And I loved it. I wanted to scare you all for a bit there. I loved it. I thought Apocalypse Now was fantastic. The cinematography was beautiful. And the soundtrack was amazing. They're the two things I really took away from this movie. The actors all done incredible jobs as well. The story, of course, is fantastic. The pacing is great. I know some people are probably going to complain that this film's too long. For me, it felt like the perfect runtime. I thought this film was pretty damn flawless. I thought it was incredible. I can see why it's so beloved. And yeah, because I know it's from the same director as the Godfather movies. And I'm going to be honest with you, I preferred this to the Godfather films. I'm going to give this film a 9 out of 10. Incredible film. Then we have Fight Club. That's right, I'd never seen David Fincher's Fight Club. I watched this in preparation for my video collaboration with Movie Worm, which if you haven't checked out, go watch it now. And I was so happy to do that collaboration. Movie Worm is such a great guy. It was awesome. But I wanted to watch this because we were talking about David Fincher. So I wanted to watch this movie in preparation for that. And it's a really good movie. I'm becoming a really big David Fincher fan. I wasn't a huge fan of like the colour palette they used on this movie. I didn't like how grainy it looked. But then again, I sort of felt that way a little bit towards Seven, even though I absolutely loved that movie. In terms of the camera, the effects sorry they use, it's not really my thing. But in terms of story, it's still fantastic. The actors are all doing an incredible job. Brad Pitt, for me, was really the standout. Helena Bonham Carter also did a great job. Edward Norton was really good. But I feel like Brad Pitt and Helena Bonham Carter sort of stole all the scenes away from him, in my opinion, a bit. Even though he was fantastic. A brilliant story. And I want to say, I absolutely love the ending to this movie. I thought it was fantastic. I'm going to give Fight Club an 8.5 out of 10. Then we have another new release, News of the World. Now, when you hear the title News of the World, you don't expect it to be a Western starring Tom Hanks. But it is. So, News of the World, Western starring Tom Hanks. One thing I want to say is I love the look of this movie. I love the costumes. I love a lot of the locations they picked. And, like, for example, there's a gunfight that happens about 45 minutes into this movie in the middle of nowhere. It's Tom Hanks, the little girl he's with, and like 2 other blokes. And that was so intense. I loved it. Thought it was great. I just wanted more of that throughout the movie because we didn't get loads of that. We got a lot of slow stuff, which could have been cut out of the movie. And that's my main issue with this movie. I think it could have genuinely been about 20 minutes shorter, and it actually probably would have improved the movie. But Tom Hanks was really good in it. You know, it's a huge improvement over Greyhound. It's good to see Tom Hanks in a movie that I can actually praise. Yeah, it didn't blow me away, but it was good enough. I'm going to give this film a 6.5 out of 10. Then we've got Bad Times at the El Royale, which is a film I've really been meaning to watch for a long time. And I had a blast with it. For a start, I love the look of this movie. I remember seeing the trailers thinking, this looks quirky. I like it. The soundtrack, there's a lot of great music here. And the actors, load of fantastic actors in here. John Hamm, Jeff Bridges, Dakota Johnson, Chris Hemsworth. It's just a whole line of great, fantastic actors there. And, yeah, it felt very Quentin Tarantino-esque, and I loved it. I thought this film was really great. I thought it was super fun, and I like the fact that it reminded me a bit of The Hateful Eight, where it's like, you never sort of know who's going to go next. The ones who you kind of think are going to last a while don't. And I love that kind of vibe. I'm going to give this film an 8 out of 10. Absolutely loved it. Then we have Gamera versus Zegra. Now, let me just refresh myself with which one that is. Okay, yep, it's the water one. This was bad. So we've taken Gamera underwater. And there was some really stupid stuff going on in this one. Now, as I say, you do need to take these films with a pinch of salt. My issue with this one, again, is that there was some kids down in some submarine. And it was, the plot was just unbelievably bad at this point. However, you know, it's not as bad as the final Gamera film in this set. Which, okay, is not the next film I'm going to talk about, but the one after. And there's a big Gamera break again. Yeah, you know, I just thought this is kind of the last proper Gamera film in the show era, I'd say. But yeah, it's just getting sillier at this point, and you can tell that now they know what their audience expects, and they're just running with it. So fair play to them, but it's not a very good movie. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Then we have The Longest Yard. Yep, that's right. I've never seen this movie. I've seen most of Adam Sandler films, but I haven't seen this one. It was just on the telly. I just ended up watching it all. That's purely the only reason I ended up watching it this month. Yeah, it's not one of Adam Sandler's best. It's not one of his worst. Some jokes landed, some didn't. I love the cast. And they were all doing a good job. And Adam Sandler was good in it. And yeah, that's about all I have to say on it. You know, I never have loads to say on these Adam Sandler comedy movies, but The Longest Yard, it is what it is. I'll give this film a 6 out of 10. Then we have the final Gamera movie in the show era. We have Gamera Super Monster. I'm pretty sure that's the last one anyway. Yeah. Which was really bad. Like, I can't lie, I was constantly losing focus on the movie. And looking at my phone or doing other stuff. It was like a callback to all the old movies, and it was just all the new stuff in it was just really bad. I didn't find this movie engaging at all. Yeah, I'll give it a 2.5. I thought it was really bad. Okay. Then we have Kiki's Delivery Service. That's right, I managed to watch another Studio Ghibli film this month, which I'm really happy I did, because I love Studio Ghibli. So happy to watch another one of their movies. I try to watch at least one a month for the minute, because I really do love them. A lot of people had recommended Kiki's Delivery Service to me, and I can see why now. It was fantastic. It was a really, really great movie. The characters were all super cool. My favourite character in it was the cat. The plot was just super engaging, and it was a really warm, you know, nice, enjoyable movie. Very unique movie. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Then we have a film called The Gift, which is starring Jason Bateman, who is an interesting actor. This film was weird. I thought it was got a horror, and I think it is, but then a lot of things start unfolding at the end, and the film doesn't get interesting till the end, unfortunately. That's the problem with this movie. It's very dull, very dreary. You're wondering where it's going. You're wondering what's going on. And then at the end, the plot sort of unfolds, and it becomes really interesting. But that it's the last 10 minutes of the movie. The rest of it is very meh. It's not bad. It's just meh. I didn't really care too much about what was going on. So I'll give this film... I'll be kind. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't awful. Then I watched Short Term 12, very kindly sent to me by Josh, the film flick, starring Brie Larson. Rami Malek is also in this movie. The actress from Booksmart, whose name's escaping me at the minute. Does it have a name on the cover? No. Her from Booksmart. It's got a really good cast to it. About a lot of people who suffer with mental health and stuff, and it's incredible. This film is so engaging. The acting is fantastic. I love the pacing of this film. I love the fact it sort of starts where it finishes. And I just love the characters in this movie. Some of the things that they have to go through and deal with, and how they adapt and react to these things is fantastic. I love it. I thought this film was really good. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I thought it was a really good movie. Then we have another film starring Brie Larson, Free Fire. Free Fire is a very interesting movie. I can see why a lot of people wouldn't like it. Things are exaggerated beyond belief here. However, I've had a really fun time with this movie. Like, a really fun time. It's got a fantastic cast to start with. Fantastic. Cillian Murphy, of course, in this as well, who I absolutely love. And I loved watching the things in this movie keep escalating. I thought the direction was really good. A lot of great music in it as well. The pacing was great. I love the gore that they added on top of this. As I say, everything's just exaggerated. That's a lot of things here are not super believable. But it is, I had a fun time with it. What can I say? I had a really fun time with it. I completely understand why people wouldn't like this movie much. It's one location as well. I know that some people aren't a big fan of that sort of stuff. But me, personally, I had a fun time with it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Then we have the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. That's right, I watched this. Why? Because obviously I've seen the first SpongeBob movie. I grew up with the first SpongeBob movie. And I saw the third one, Sponge on the Run. When that came out in cinema. Not cinema. No, it went streaming on Netflix, didn't it? When that went streaming on Netflix 2 months ago or so, 3 months ago. So this was the only one I hadn't seen. I'd missed the middle SpongeBob movie, so I thought, I'm going to watch that. So I did, and for me, it's the weakest SpongeBob movie. There's no way it's going to top the first one. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Let's not kid ourselves. But I think I preferred the third one, because even though there's a lot of problems with the third one, it was more consistent, and it had a sense of direction. This movie starts off really well. I like the fact that it's in the 2D animation style, and it's like everyone's against SpongeBob. He's on his own with Plankton. Yeah, it just feels like a long SpongeBob episode. And then all of a sudden, the last act of the movie, everyone's reunited with SpongeBob, and he goes to 3D animation. They're on land, and there's superheroes, and it's like, this feels like two different movies. It feels very discombobulated. It feels very choppy. And it's a strange movie. There's some strange things in it. Like, there's a scene with a weird dolphin. Those of you who've seen the film will know what I mean. And it just doesn't feel like it fits in the movie. It's really strange. I didn't have a bad time with this movie. I'm not going to give it a negative score below 5. But I don't think it was a great movie. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. Then we have the film which sort of put Stanley Kubrick on the map. The film that sort of gave him more popularity. And that is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. What a title. Now, first thing I want to say about this movie is I was kind of surprised because it was a 1963 or 4? 63, 64? 64. Now, it's having a really surprised me with this movie, and it's not a criticism, but it, obviously it looks quite dated now. And it just amazes me because 2001 was only 4 years after this movie, and that film looks stunning still. It just still amazes me. Anyway, Dr. Strangelove, that's what I'm just going to call it. I'm not going to say the whole title because it's too long. I did really enjoy this movie. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the script was incredible. The plot was fantastic. The ending, I loved it. The music was insanely good. It's a classic. It really is. It's a brilliant movie. And yeah, I'm not surprised I loved it. It was thoroughly entertaining. I'm going to give Dr. Strangelove an 8.5 out of 10. Then we have Gamera, Guardian of the Universe. So this is from the Hesse era. I'm probably saying that wrong. So I think it was made in the 90s, or maybe it was the late 80s. Late 80s, early 90s. Gamera looks amazing. Looks so much better in this movie. It's incredible what they've done with Gamera in this one. So in this one, the monsters are like, they got a couple of these smaller ones, and Gamera has to get them all. But of course, at the same time, this is a new universe, so people are not sure what to make of Gamera. So it's Gamera's first appearance again. And it's really, really interesting to see where they go with this one. A lot of stuff is better. Obviously, the acting's better. The music's better. All the monsters look so much more interesting. I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's a huge improvement over the show up era Gamera movies that we had. Then we've got, and this is the last Gamera film I'm going to talk about, Attack of Legion. So Legion, it was a really interesting monster. So it sort of comes out this big cocoon thing, and there's loads of little bugs that get on Gamera, like thousands of them. And I thought that was interesting. It's like, oh, cool, it's not just another huge monster, even though another huge monster does eventually rock up in this movie, or it sort of turns into one. But it was really interesting to see Gamera have some new threats. And the effects were fantastic on them. They look so good. Gamera looked great. I love the plot of this one. I thought it was so much more interesting than a lot of the other Gamera films I've had to sit through. And yeah, when the big monster did show up, he looked really cool. I loved the design of him. I'd actually like to see a modern version of Gamera, an even more modern one than that. And I'd like them to bring this monster back. He's one I'd like to see a modern take on. Attack on Legion, I thought was the best Gamera film I've seen so far. I'm going to give it a 7.5. And that's me done with Gamera. I got 2 films left in this box set, so you'll hear about them at the end of March. And I do really look forward to finishing off that set, because I've had a blast with the first 2 in this era. Then we've got Starship Troopers, which, yeah, I'd never seen that before. I was going through Disney Plus Star, and this film sort of caught my eye. I'd seen the animated film Invasion, so I thought I didn't mind that movie. And I hear that the Starship Troopers sequels are terrible, but I thought, you know what? Let's give the first one a watch. And there was a few actors I noticed actually in it. Like, I noticed the guy who voices Mr. Krabs was in it, and the guy who plays Hank in Breaking Bad was in it. A few actors popped up. I was like, oh, hey. And Starship Troopers, I can hands down say, has a terrible script, and some of the actors are doing terrible jobs. And the effects are garbage at times. Like, the bugs look awful. But I had an absolute blast with this movie. I thought it was so cheesy fun, I couldn't help but love it. I thought the plot was easy enough to follow. It was super fun. And it's really a shame that they messed up the sequels, apparently. I should watch them and judge for myself, but I hear they're terrible. Because I really can see, like, this franchise could have gone so much further, really. But hey, I had a blast with this movie. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was really fun. Okay, next one I've reviewed here on my channel as well, so I'll be quick. Tom and Jerry movie. Yeah, this came out. It was bad, really bad. You know what? The Tom and Jerry stuff itself was okay. Tom and Jerry were fine, but they were just on screen for like only like 30% of this movie. They're barely in it compared to like Chloe Grace Moretz. Now, I get that you're paying money for these actors, so you want to utilize them, but all the human stuff sucked. They were all the stuff they were doing was dumb. It made no sense. The plot was bad. And yeah, it was just a really bad movie. I'm going to give it a... I'm trying to figure what I gave it in my review. 2.5? 3? I'll give it a 2.5. Next, we've got Flora and ulysses. I can't pronounce. I can't say it, even though I did only watch it last week. Oh, fuck it, I give up. The Disney Plus movie about the girl and the squirrel. And the squirrel's basically a superhero. I was watching it and I was like, is this Disney just testing the water for a squirrel girl movie? It's like, Disney, just do a squirrel girl movie if you want. It'd be so much more interesting than this. What can I say? It's a kids movie. It's Disney Plus. It's, you know, stupid, ridiculous, but it's aimed at kids and not me. And for what it is, I suppose it's fun. But for me, so far, the Disney Plus original movies are just nothing. They're all just fluff. And this is another one of those. It's a fluff movie. There's nothing interesting about it. There's nothing that will ever make me rewatch it. Yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Then we have The New World, which of course I have here on Criterion, which I'll hold up. This is by Terrence Malick, who is maybe the best cinematographer out there in the film industry. I think his films look stunning, and I want to say that film also looks stunning. Colin Farrell gives an incredible performance in this movie, and I thought this story was just fascinating. And on top of that, the sets and the locations and stuff, this whole thing looked incredible. The music was fantastic. Christian Bale was also great in this movie. I had a real blast with this film. I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10. I really liked it. And then the final movie is Capone, starring Mr. Tom Hardy. Brand new Netflix release. I think it got shown at some festivals in 2020. Probably some online ones because of COVID. Yeah, another bad movie. I don't know what Tom Hardy was on, because he sounded really weird in this movie. I know that that's sort of how he was meant to sound, but my God, I couldn't get used to it. The story itself was just really weird and boring, to be honest. That's just the best way I can describe this film. It was really, really dull and boring and just not interesting at all. But anyway, there you go. There's all the films I watched throughout February of 2021. A lot of Gamera stuff. As I say, I've only got 2 Gamera films left now, so don't worry, you won't have to hear me go on about the Gamera films for ages. And I apologise that, you know, I didn't have loads to say on them. They just all sort of got jumbled up in my head, especially the ones from the Showa era. Said that really weird. Showa era. But anyway, that is it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it as always. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And as always, I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.